Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to GRC Football TV. This weekend was an amazing, wonderful weekend in the Premier League. And of course, the topic today starts with a very simple question. Can Arsenal be finally called title contenders? And of course, we look at the London derby. We also look at the Manchester derby with history being made, two players scoring a hat-trick against Man United. And don't laugh, boys. Come on. Don't laugh. Do not laugh. And then we see the new look Chelsea and Graham Potter after two games, and we have a look at all the other games from the weekend. So, of course, if you like what you see, what you hear, please join us on our socials at JRC Football TV. Welcome, boys. Big Steve, the Angry One, Dunk, and of course, Mr. Neil Hinder. All right, straight into it, people. And of course, later on, you get into the vibe of laughing at Man United. So I shall start with the not London boys. First of all, Big Steve, surely losing one game the entire season, beating Tottenham that hasn't lost a game this season, surely Arsenal can be called title contenders now.
Only because there's no one else playing any decent stuff to.
Does it matter whether there's anybody else or not?
I think they've still got a test to come. Next weekend against Liverpool will be interesting, even though Liverpool are not playing the best football. But Tottenham were poor yesterday, but they've been poor for a long time. The one thing about Arsenal this season, even though I'm very positive about them so far, has been when they played Man United, they didn't adjust and play the game in front of them. They kept playing the way that they always play and kept getting found out. So they need to learn that over the course of a season if they're going to be title contenders.
So you're saying that it's still too early?
Yeah, it is.
Okay. The Angry One, what are you saying? Are you finally coming to terms with Arteta? Do you think he's the man to lead you to the first title after how many years? Or should we still play just take one game at a time card?
They're two separate issues. I'm down with Arteta since I watched the documentary. I like him now. So that's a separate issue.
Big up Amazon, please. Come and sponsor us.
I didn't say where it was from, so that's you bigging it up. I just said I watched the documentary. It was quite
Of course it was me bigging it up.
Anyway.
Big up Amazon, please come and sponsor us.
Oh yeah, I don't mind that. And then, so with regard to title contenders, by default then you're saying that Tottenham was some sort of test, but really they weren't, because they haven't beat us at home for about 29 games. So
I'm confused how I say things without actually saying things.
Well, if you're saying, so we beat Tottenham, which is a team in the Premier League, and suddenly we're title contenders because we beat Tottenham. Why?
Well, you're top of the table.
Only 1 point.
You have only lost once this season.
We're
Massive
1 point
improvement
ahead
from last season.
Only 1 point ahead of Man City. It's not like we're 5-6 points clear. I think we'll be in the mix, but title contenders, I don't know, man. It's a bit early. This feels like the Leicester season when everyone thought because everyone's doing crap that we're going to win it, and then we didn't. So let's just calm down a little bit, because Arsenal's big flop normally comes in the second half of the season anyway. So it will be around February time that we start flopping. If we're still in this position in February, then yeah, say it. Can't say it now when, what are we in, October? And
the thing about using the word title contenders is that I don't think many people see other than Man City win the title, to be honest.
A contender doesn't mean you will win it. It just means you'll be in the mix. So
I think the way it's looking is Man City will be in the mix with themselves, mate.
All right. Dog, please. Arsenal, title contenders? Because, I mean, number one, Steve says no. Mike says I'm saying things without me saying things. So, Dunk, what are you saying? Arsenal, title contenders.
You're just looking for clickbait titles, aren't you, JJ? You're like Steve and Mike and the Angry One say it's like Arsenal title contenders. That's what we're saying this week, so you can put your little clips up.
Yeah, you got found out there, just like Man United earlier today.
Stick to Arsenal. Stick to Arsenal.
Yeah, well, obviously they're top of the table. We're only 9 games in, are we?
Yeah.
So yeah, like the lads say, like you can't be calling people title contenders after 9 games in.
Why?
Because we're only 1 point ahead. If we're 10
I mean,
points clear,
nothing. It's quarter of the season.
I'll give you an example. So you cannot call Man United title contenders. You can't. Form doesn't show it. Look at where they are at the table. You cannot call Leicester title contenders. I'm sure you can call anybody in the top 4, looking at those boys, title contenders. The question is not who will win the league or who do you think will win the league. Are they title contenders? Will they push to the end? Because
No.
as it stands, Arsenal seems like the only team that will be able to challenge City so far, based on form.
Well, just talking about that will be the interesting thing to see this season, because like Mike said, like Arsenal generally fade towards the end of the season. So it'll be interesting to see, crystal ball time, towards the end of the season, whether they will fade or whether they can get over that, whatever it is going on at Arsenal, where they always have that like late season stumble coming towards the end. So yeah, obviously they're top of the table. They're getting some good results at the minute. Comprehensive win over Spurs there. Be again interesting to see the Liverpool game next week. That's going to be a good test for them to see where they're at. It's probably their first like big test of the season. Even though they failed the one against Man U, but it's a new test, Liverpool. So we'll wait and see how that one goes. But yeah, they're having a great season so far. They're sat at the top.
Do you think, Mr. Hinder, that this? I think there's some sort of, I don't know what I'll call it. Will I call it culture, or because it's been it's been happening. Or is it just playing it cool? So Arsenal fans, when you ask them, what do you think will happen this season? Oh, we usually flop towards this time. And I know it's probably happened year in, year out. But do you think that? Sorry,
it happened last season. We should have got top four. We didn't.
Year in, year out. Which is what? That's what I'm actually saying now.
I don't know. I don't know what you're saying. What you're not saying. You're speaking
all
code.
Right. I'm very happy for you. Clean your ear.
I haven't got any combats.
Do you think that is actually creeping up to the players? Do you think, players surely will think they're title contenders the way they're playing?
I mean, the mindset should be go out to win each game. The players will be taking each game by game. They'll be grounded from that aspect. We've seen a documentary on Amazon Prime.
Amazon, come and sponsor us.
And
please.
You can clearly see that the whole culture is based on a game by game. Do people get excited? Definitely. Of course they will. There's no way that the Arsenal players haven't got an extra level of confidence because they're getting some good victories. And beating Spurs is a great result, right? Regardless of if you're top of the league or you're bottom of the league, beating Spurs and your local rivals is really important to them. Are they title contenders? Yeah, there's no reason why they're not title contenders this season. Can they keep up the pace for the whole season? That's going to remain to be seen. Every Arsenal fan will play down their chances of it, apart from maybe 3 people on TV that will get a bit excited. But as a neutral, Arsenal at the moment, Arsenal, Man City, and Spurs did have an off game of the 3 title challengers currently. Will that change later on in the season? Yeah. Haaland is a difference maker for City, but we'll touch on him a bit later on. But with regards to the Arsenal team, you can't look at that team and say they're not going to do good things this season, because they look like they're going to do good things, providing they can keep pretty safe from injuries. So yeah, they should be there or thereabouts.
So the angry one, you mentioned how with history showing Tottenham they usually don't do much against Arsenal at the Emirates. So was it before the game, you were fully confident? You didn't think Tottenham grinding out results this season would actually make it a tougher game, or you were pretty much confident that it was 3 points?
I'm never confident in derbies. I'm always shook because it's a derby. So you always think they can do you, even though we pretty much do them every time they come to the Emirates. But you always think it's that one time. So I was a bit apprehensive. I'm confident in the way we were playing, but I thought that they were probably trying to hit us on the break like Man United did, and they did do that, but they just didn't do it very well. So they just sat back and just let us do what we wanted. And they had chances, but that final pass wasn't there. Like, they missed a couple of good passes. If the pass had been better, they might have been in. Might have been a different game. But overall, we dominated that game from start to finish, really, which I was surprised about. But yeah, so I'm glad we won. But I wouldn't have said from the start of the game that we would definitely win. I wasn't sure. I thought it might be a draw. I was just being.
I was hoping for a draw, but it wasn't.
I was
hoping for a draw.
We hoping for a draw today, Man with City.
Don't worry. You guys will get the chance. I'm sure. We're talking about Arsenal. These boys are thinking about Man United, ladies and gentlemen. This is amazing. Interesting punditry. Big Steve, if you're looking at the Tottenham team, Mr. Hinder he said they will win the league this season. There's still a chance that they will. But looking at the way they played against Arsenal, they didn't seem like they were up for it, which is very unlike a Conte team. So what would you say the issue was? Because it was clear that they were trying to play with the counter-attacking system. They weren't playing so well, but they got the equalizer, the penalty. So what happened in the second half? What do you think was the issue, or was it just the red card?
It wasn't the red card. It contributed towards it, but I don't think Tottenham were playing the best when they came out in the second half. Anyway, they had a good period after about 25 minutes of the first half. They won the second half of the first half. If anything, they were on top. Had a couple of chances where Son could have played better passes, would have created chances for them. I think they missed Kulusevski. In the second half, Arsenal were just on them, and they never came out the traps second half. Tottenham. I don't know if it's because they know they're like me and know Conte's going to go to Juventus.
Rumor mill, right there.
Yeah, I don't know. They just seem a bit disjointed. They need that link player between them, the team and the front three. The front three seem a bit disjointed, and they need like a playmaker, someone like an Odegaard who can link the two. Eriksen going back there would have been a good thing for them, but they need that kind of player. They're relying on Harry Kane to drop deep and do that when he should be up top. So yeah, it's just a bit disjointed, and I don't think their counter-attacking approach can take them through the whole season.
Well, it's been carrying them so far. Mr. Hinder, looking at the way that game played out, and you're a big fan of Conte, energy, inspiring your players, and doing all that stuff. From when I was watching that game, Tottenham didn't even seem like they wanted to play at all. What was the issue? Is everybody kind of thinks... It's funny how... So, Arsenal play Man United hit them on the break. Tottenham, that's how they play usually. So, was this just a case of Arsenal was just way too good, dominating every single play, or Tottenham just didn't show up?
So let's give credit to Arsenal for playing well. They didn't play badly at all. They deserve the win from the way that they played football. Spurs were equally as shit as Arsenal were good though, which I think is fair. And we already said the point about the fact that Son missed about 3 or 4 opportunities which could have had the game in a completely different route. I thought Richarlison, to be fair though, for Spurs had energy. He was all over the park. He looked like he was hungry for that game, but everywhere else he was a little bit let down, I think, across the park. They are lacking a bit of a creative spark in midfield. I'm not sure that's necessarily a problem with the way that they play. Kane dropping deeper to help pass those balls. Whether they want Kane to stay at top forever, I don't know. Conte will have a plan with regards to that. I think the massive error by Hugo Lloris, putting his hands around thin air and that ball going straight through them was... it could be unlucky, but it was for a keeper of that caliber. That's definitely a massive error. I think that definitely cost them a lot. They were very disjointed, very down. They got back into the game from the penalty, which, in my opinion, was a clear penalty. And Kane's always going to score those. It was naive defending.
Man, that penalty was terrible. Well, sorry, continue.
It was definitely fair. It was terrible defending. Initially, Son had really overpassed the ball to Richarlison as well. So to get back into the game and to get the there. And I thought from that point maybe Spurs will add the bit between the teeth, but they didn't really have it on there. And I think he's relying. He doesn't have the player potentially in the centre of the park that he can rely on that he wants. The sending off, I think we've already again said, didn't necessarily change the game. It was poor, really, really poor decision. I don't think he was meant to do what he did. I think he was meant to clip the player's ankles and just get a booking, but he completely mucked up the foul and got sent off. That's how bad that foul was.
Why even kick the player up the field?
Because you do, right? You get frustrated and you clip the legs and the left heel hits the right heel, right?
Take him out.
Yeah, but not with your studs there. It was just like a really poor. It wasn't malicious. It was just ill-timed of everything.
He raked his studs down his ankle. I think that's pretty malicious.
Yeah, but I don't think but if you look at everything that went on in that bit, I don't think he did it maliciously. It was, that's how poor I think Spurs were. I think he got sent off from something he didn't mean to do, and he just completely mistimed his intentional foul that he should have got booked for, and ended up getting it was 100% a red, the foul that he committed, but he was supposed to commit a yellow card foul at that particular point, and that's how bad Spurs were in that game, that they couldn't even do a normal foul to get a booking, that they got a red card. That's how poor the whole Spurs team was, and like Arsenal played really well. The one player that I'm going to say Saka didn't have a good game because he kept running across the pitch. He definitely didn't.
Yeah,
and no, because I think there was some negatives. No, Saka didn't have a game, and Odegaard was really quiet. So unless he I don't know what I missed there. Xhaka played amazingly well though for the whole of the game, and I thought he was really, really good. And she just looks like he just keeps everyone calm, right? And makes that front line so much more appealing for them.
I mean, Jesus is doing one thing, though. He's doing one thing. He is definitely letting everybody know that Nketiah is never coming back into that team. Unless, or even if he's on
100 grand on the week, I'd say
he's doing that so well that, I mean, he drops so deep even to pick up the ball, confident, beating players. But I was going to talk about Xhaka, big dunk. This is a guy that we've given a lot of stick to, but we're slowly seeing, not slowly, it's a massive improvement after this season. He seems to, there's some extra, what we call it, I don't know, vavavoom to his play. He keeps going forward, coming back, scored a nice goal. And this thing that one of the most impressive things for me is after Arsenal scored, and the players are all happy, he called everybody back, like shouting like the captain thing. So he seems like a new man. What do you think is the secret big dunk? Jerk chicken?
I don't think it's jerk chicken. I don't think that's big in Switzerland or Albania, but
he's in London.
Hey, Xhaka's. Well, he plays for Switzerland. He's from Albania.
He lives in London.
We talked about Xhaka like loads in the last few weeks and last season as well. Like, so I was going to mention this. Like, it's impressive how Arteta's got them all working this season. So again, like you're singling out Xhaka there. How many of us said Xhaka wasn't good enough last season? Even earlier this season, we were saying like who was it? Xhaka and Lokonga was a midfield in one game. We were saying not good enough. So this is what I said about Arteta last season, about how I liked how he was going about his business, like just developing the squad. And we've had this conversation about before. You can't just, with Man United, you can't just like turn out a whole squad and put a new one in. Yeah, you have to develop what you've got and make them better. So it's not only Xhaka, he's really improved this season. That's got to be like, I put some of that down to the tactics of Arteta. That's got him performing a bit better in his role. There's Martinelli and Saka weren't good enough last season, weren't scoring enough, weren't assisting enough. They're way better this season, contributing more. Saliba wasn't good enough to be around the squad. He was sent on loan. He's on fire. So I'm just going to give Arteta a lot of credit and say he's getting a lot of things right in how he's developed the squad.
In terms of Saliba and saying not being good enough, though, was it a case of not being good enough, or just Arteta felt that he needed to develop into a particular type of player, because he was winning like best player in where he was in France, and from
so was Pepe though.
I think you have to say that, because if he was good enough, he would have been in the squad last season. Arteta would have used him in the Premier League.
So considering the fact, I went back and looked at some episodes of GRC, and I was trying to pinpoint where Mr. Hinder's love for Saka came from. I've been trying to pinpoint it. Like, why? There's nothing this guy does that, oh yeah, he was poor, he was this, he was that. I'm trying to pinpoint it. Have you forgiven him for the penalty, Mr. Hinder?
Oh man, yeah, I didn't. A brave man to stand up for the penalty. I have literally no qualms about any of his performances for England. What I do have, I don't think he offers enough in the final for attacking play. So there's not enough crosses, there's not enough assists, and there's not enough goals from him. And he burst on the scene and came really, really good and got to a level, and that level hasn't progressed further. If you look at Martinelli this season, I said it earlier, of how well he has improved. But for me, Saka just hasn't taken it to that next level. And I want him to take it to the next level. We've got a big tournament coming up for England soon, which I care way more about than Arsenal winning the league. So I need him to play well for Arsenal, find some really good form and start assistant. And I don't think he is doing enough in the final third for my likings for them. And I don't want to say that it does remind me of Walcott. Burst on, what? Really, really good. Yeah, it does. Literally, burst on. Everyone's raving about this player, right? And then he doesn't improve enough. He just gets to that point and we're all like, yeah, all right. And that's it. And you say that, but I mean, you look at his stats, man. They're terrible.
I think Saka's problem is that both for club and country, he doesn't have real competition to make him always step up and have to be on his toes.
But here's a different view of this, though. He doesn't have competition because he's outplaying everybody else.
Yeah.
Would that be the point?
No, there isn't anyone else.
For
Who does he
example,
go
but hold on, for example,
I don't think so.
You're
Why not,
comparing him to Martinelli. Martinelli stepped up his game this season, yeah. But Martinelli was
loads this season compared to last, right?
But Martinelli was not on par with Saka last season. So Martinelli's only come up to Saka's current level now. So
I would disagree. I would say Martinelli now is better than Saka this season.
Saka has basically maintained the same level. He hasn't kicked on.
I agree with the angry one because the issue we have, I think a lot of people.
Well, you're the host. When did you get opinions?
I know.
I'm agreeing with an opinion. A year now, and you have an opinion.
I am agreeing with the angry one because the question here is: do people get to a particular level and we get so used to it that they don't, because you don't see it as an improvement, you now say they are bad?
Yeah.
Because
Because also look, let's have it right.
He's really young.
Last season he had Laka doing basically nada, yeah. So he had to carry the team for most of last season. Therefore, his performances had to be kind of out of the skin, 8 out of 10 every week or more or less, yeah. This season, the burden of what he was carrying the team with has been spread across the full front three. So you've got Jesus doing more, well, way more than the other guys did before, and Martinelli stepped up. Therefore, Saka doesn't have to reach those levels every time. So he's still maintaining a good level. He's just not as apparent.
Yeah, but
it's just not as apparent as it was before when he was carrying the team. Now it's more evenly distributed. Simple as that.
I just feel that he gets. I feel that
hater.
No, I'm not a hater. I just feel that I want him to get onto that next level, and he's got to a stage where he's a very, very good player, but he's not going on. He had a good game against Fulham, and I think that's literally about it this season.
He needs goal output.
He's got none.
He needs goals.
He's got one in 709 minutes.
Yeah, for people to turn around and say he's taken a step up, I think he needs to add goals too.
I was waiting for that stat to come out. I was waiting for that stat.
You need some stats, right? One in 709 minutes.
The man has been looking for the stat to back up his point. Well, it was a good London derby. Arsenal won. Tottenham were terrible. And Arsenal is looking like title contenders. Last question on Arsenal, though, and that should go to everybody if you have an opinion. Do you think, with the flow and the form Arsenal have, do you think the World Cup will affect it?
Yes.
Big Steve, let's start with you. Do you think they'll come back and all of a sudden start crumbling?
No, I don't think they'll start crumbling, but it depends on how many their players go far in the competition. I don't think their key players. Well, the major one is Jesus, is how involved he is with the Brazil squad if he gets selected and how long they're in the competition for.
Bring on Eddie.
I think any time if he's out for a considerable length of time or comes back severely fatigued, it can affect how Arsenal are playing. But the rest of them, I don't think they'll be gone long enough, or they can be filled in for a short period of time around the World Cup.
All right.
Who have you got winning the World Cup?
No
question.
Mainly because you've got English players, you've got Brazil players, you've got French players, so you've just brought all three of those out. Who's winning?
Yeah, no, I said the only one that I can see that's going to be in the Brazil team probably is
but he's not. Jesus. And neither is Gabriel.
And we don't even know that if he's going to be in it.
They might all make it.
Hopefully not. And hopefully Saka. Hopefully Saka is listening to
you've got Partey, Ghana, you've got Xhaka.
Odegaard.
All the rest.
Oh no, wait, is the Marky winning it?
No, he's not going.
Oh, good. Better.
Yeah, so they're the only key players. That the only one I see if he was out for the whole month or comes back really fatigued is Jesus.
I think
that can really affect the way we play.
Well, it is all
Arsenal
good,
withdraw
ladies and
25
gentlemen.
players from the World Cup.
It is all good.
And then you come fifth.
Fifth? No. Title contenders. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, moving on to the topic that these boys have been waiting for, even probably since before the season even started. And see, I can see the angry one leaning back like in some club. So, Manchester Derby. First question is that simple. It's so obvious that even with Man United winning a few games, the level at which they should be at is so high, looking at how the game went against Man City. But let's talk about the man that is in, I don't even know if you should call that form. Big Dunk. Is Haaland making the Premier League look so easy?
Yeah, I believe before he came, I said he was going to score a load of goals. I
Yeah,
believe
you
I was
said
correct in that one.
26.
Yeah,
Yeah, you said
I
26.
think I was being a little bit
he meant that in the
conservative.
first half of the season.
I mean, yeah, I meant 260. I was being conservative, but so yeah. Even by my estimations, he's just blowing everything out of the water, isn't he? It's absolutely ridiculous. So what's he on now? Is it 14 and 9?
14 and 8.
14 and 8. Okay, that's just nuts. Yeah, I don't most people knew he was going to do a good job. Although I shared with you guys some social media stories and some interviews where people were like, "Oh, he's not going to come and smack up the Premiership. We got the best league in the world." I saw some of them, and those people just look pretty stupid now. Yeah, he's no one's done what he's doing now for years. You have to go back to Ronaldo, Van Nistelrooy, those types of players that just
Mickey Quinn.
We all saw that, yeah.
Mickey Quinn, mate.
So you have to go back years to find people that are doing what Haaland's doing now. Because over the last 10 years, you've had good players like Kane and Salah, and what do they normally get? 25, this kind of area. But now we're seeing someone who's just absolutely demolishing.
Salah
the
get
Premier
30 once. Anyway,
Not league goals. Not Premier League goals.
okay. Well, the thing with so with Haaland is his touches in the game is not as much. So, but he's always very busy taking out players. We criticize, or everybody criticized Pep. Oh, you can't win the league without a striker, which they did last season. And now he has gone in and he has gotten Haaland, and everybody's game seems to have stepped up because they always know he'll be in the box. De Bruyne is delivering those passes. He literally could just close his eye and play the ball in the 18, and Haaland to find it. So, and then Foden steps up today, Big Steve. And the question actually goes to Mr. Hinder because for a very, very, very long period, the argument of Foden versus Saka went on and on and on. So I'm going to ask, of course, I'll ask Mr. Hinder. Do you think the argument should be buried? Foden obviously way better than Saka.
If Foden plays like he did today, then you would play Foden with any team in the world, right? Regardless, because he was that good today. We haven't touched on, and I'm hoping we do touch on at some point, that Harry Maguire didn't make it to the United team, and that obviously cost them the game today because he would have been rock at the back. Foden was really, really good today. You also said about Haaland only having a couple of touches, which is irrelevant when you can score 3 goals with little to zero effort
and assist too.
Exactly that pass. Did you see the pass from De Bruyne? Right?
It wasn't. I wasn't criticizing him.
No.
It's
It's a different type of way that they're playing. When De Bruyne picked up the ball, he knew Haaland was going to be there when he put that cross in. And I think I mentioned it earlier where I'd like to see Sterling playing more on that back post for Chelsea, running in and doing that. And that's what he used to do quite a lot at City. And he doesn't been doing at Chelsea, which hopefully he'll improve on. But that was just absolutely perfect, that ball through. And Haaland come in straight in. He knew what was happening before it happened. And when you've got a player of Haaland's quality and De Bruyne's quality, literally that's going to be 30, 40 goals between the two of them easily per season. And that's just between the two of them, regardless of the rest of the team, because they're both that good. They're head and shoulders above anybody else. And that is going to be a dream partnership to stop this season. I think that probably, I don't want to say the worst defending I've seen, but the Premier League's definitely got worse defending this season, I think, than a lot of other seasons. There's not been that many games where, that was some good quality defending. No one seems to be up there. We don't think we've spoken about
Saliba.
No, I don't think anyone's talked about him having being a rock. They definitely, his positional play is very good, but I don't think we've got those type of defenders anymore. Maybe they don't exist, and football is evolving. Salah has got 30 goals in the season before, but before that, there was a lot of players getting 30 goals, and now you've got less and less goals. But Foden, which is the point that you were asking, Angry One, he's fitting in that team with De Bruyne and Haaland, and he's still scoring goals when you would think that all the balls are going to be going straight to Haaland. But this is where Haaland only having 3 touches comes in really, really helpful. He had way more than that, by the way, in the end. He's taken defenders away because they're that scared. And I mean, Ericsson even marked him on a corner. I've got no idea what is going on with that United team. Ericsson marking Haaland, like he needs 8 men on him.
I like that you brought that up because the angry one, when I was speaking earlier, you mentioned how Ericsson,
And you were crying on the phone, and I was consoling you.
No, I wasn't crying. I wasn't crying. I was talking about something else, which wasn't even football, and you were happy and having like those sounds Neil plays to us before the podcast because Man United lost. But you had a few weeks ago, I was listening to I think Stock Sports, and they were saying how Ericsson, even with his creativity, that when Man United plays a team that has very good midfield, that Man United will suffer because he doesn't defend. So would
No,
you
he does
say
defend. He just
apart
can't defend.
well, same thing. Would you say Eric Ten Hag should have seen this? I'd probably started with Casemiro or at least a tighter midfield today.
Or Fred. Where's the tumbleweed?
Who did he ask?
Would you say? Who was I talking to? The angry one.
Yeah, like
yeah, he should have definitely not started. Well, I said to you before anyway. Yeah, he should have played a more defensive player with either Ericsson or the little rat. What's his name? The Portuguese.
Fernandes.
Yeah, Fernandes. Him should have played somebody else with him because he was going to get overrun. They got away with it. They got away with it against Arsenal, but I don't think Partey played that game. But you can't do that with City. You can't. And actually, to be fair, I think he was at fault or involved or partially at fault for at least 3 of the goals. Because he didn't track Foden's first goal. He was hugging Haaland and Haaland threw him off for the second goal. And even for the third goal, he should have taken De Bruyne out before he played the pass. He took him out after he'd passed it. So that's I think somebody else like Casemiro or even Fred, to be honest, would have done it. Stop 1 or 2 of those. So yeah, I think that's a mistake by Ten Hag. He thought because they beat Liverpool and beat Arsenal, he could do that to City, but you can't. They're different gravy.
I mean, in the first half, Man United looked like they had lost it mentally. Big Steve.
I thought it was going to be 8 first half.
They just looked like they were shook. Oh my God, we're playing City, which you would think that is one of the games that they should actually step up for. Same way Man United stepped up and maybe Liverpool, rivals, let's play our best game. Would you have played any other formation against City?
Maybe not the formation, but definitely the personnel. The fact that they were away to City hold the ball, City are very strong in midfield, even though they're missing Rodri, you can't go in with Fernandes and Ericsson because you need people to run around, press the ball, hold the ball in midfield. So you can't have both of them. You spent so much money on Casemiro and you leave him sitting on the bench. Fred as well, someone who runs around. He may not be the best, but at least he runs around and tries to press the ball. I'd have had more respect for Ten Hag if he went in with Fred, McTominay and Casemiro just to sit in the middle of the midfield to try and nullify City.
Because Steve,
who would attack them?
Ronaldo.
Obviously, you got some really good points there, Steve. Ten Hag came in and done really well for a short period of time when everyone was thinking that they'd suddenly turn this massive corner. And let's not panic again about United again at the moment. But Ten Hag was getting them to play one particular way. Do you think it was tactical naivety today from Ten Hag that resulted in them playing without, defensive-minded players and trying to press against a City team that are going to outpress every team in the world right now? It just...
Yeah, I think it was. I think it was tactically naive. What worked against Arsenal wasn't going to work against Man City.
They got lucky,
especially at the Etihad. Man City, even if Man United was successful in pressing Man City are used to that. They will continue to play. They can play from the goalkeeper out. So you need to be tight in that midfield. You can't let De Bruyne, Grealish, Foden all have time on the ball. Bernardo Silva do what they want. It just doesn't make sense. You need people to battle. And then, yes, if Rashford does get the chance to run in behind, then, yeah, it works. But then the City centre-backs are very quick and Ederson is very, very quick off his line. So is it going to work the same way it did against Arsenal? I would doubt it.
So in the second half, Man United played better, or you could argue that City actually we're 4-0 up, there's no point. And then Anthony scores a good goal, and then City scores 2. Which pretty much says, we could score more goals if we wanted to. So, but in the second half, you could argue that Man United a bit better. Dunk, seeing that performance in the second half, was that encouraging in any way in the sense in terms of okay, or was that just a case of City just like yeah, we're 4-0 up, doesn't matter?
No, I'd say it's encouraging, and just this is one for Neil. There were positives to take from that game, even though they lost, because that game could have like the lad said, that game could have got away. That could have been an awful scoreline. Could have been 8-0 or something crazy. So you're away at Man City and you're 4-0 down at half time. Like you've got to give him a bit of credit, and you've got to give Ten Hag a bit of credit for whatever changes he made or whatever speech he gave at half time. That the final scoreline was 6-3. They won the second half. They won it 3-2.
But didn't those goals come after City made like 4 subs?
Yeah, City took off their starting 11 and brought on like
they
8-year-old
made
kids.
4 subs.
I mean, ladies and gentlemen, right there, that is the best maths calculation ever. 4 and then 11. that is the best calculation.
Well, you could combine that in as a bad. You could say that's a bad decision from Man City, but I'd still give Man United credit for like coming back in it. They could have just put their heads down.
It's not often I agree with the angry one, but 100%.
City just left it. They brought in a guy I've never heard of.
Yeah.
Chalmers or something. Who's that guy? Yeah,
They basically
come on, take liberties.
They were playing foot and gave their kid the controller because they were like 4-0 up and like, you can play the second.
That guy Chalmers was some guy who won a competition in a raffle. Come on. Come on with the Manchester Derby. Come on, man. And then they go and score 2 goals and we're going to give them credit. Nope. Should have done that earlier.
Who actually keeps the ball?
They get one
hat trick.
It's
one
multi
each.
ball now. Yeah.
No, it's multi-ball system, innit? So they can take one each.
It's not like the old days when there was only one ball.
Tear it into 2.
I'd like that to be the case. I think United. I don't think they can take any positives from that game. Any positives at all, other than don't play like that against better teams. Like actually have some pragmatic approach to playing teams that are far better technically and tactically, because they were better on both parts today. Ronaldo on the bench was a joke.
What's that a joke though? Based on the pressing that I can understand.
Yeah, but why the hell are you pressing against Man? We've just had this conversation. Why are you pressing against them? You just don't do it, do you?
But the thing
obviously
is,
you can question it now.
No, I would have questioned it before the game. Why are you pressing?
Even during the game, right? How much pressing did Rashford do?
No,
he didn't do that much pressing. He didn't press. So it didn't make any sense. Didn't make any sense. I think Ronaldo would have been more effective again in today's game than Rashford was.
Ronaldo on the bench was more effective than Rashford in that game.
Because Rashford they're making him into a one-trick pony just to get in behind.
But wait,
break a high line and score the goal. But at least Ronaldo will show for it.
How does that make him a one-trick pony?
But there was no balls into Rashford for him to do anything about it. So are you going to blame him because he didn't get the ball? That doesn't make sense.
No. I said they're making him into a one-trick pony. Rashford doesn't show deep for the ball. He doesn't link the play. They're making him into a player that if he's playing against a team that has a high line, feed him through, and he's going to break and go through. Right, which is what the effect he had in the Arsenal game. Yeah. If he doesn't do that, what else are the team allowing him to bring to the game?
But he couldn't do that because there was no opportunity to do that. He's a specialist.
He can't link the play.
But he's not supposed to link the play.
Short. He can't do.
That's what.
Say again.
He's not supposed to link the play. That's what Thingy's for. That's what.
But he's playing up front. He can't show. All right, mate. He can't come deep. He can't show for the ball.
But that's not the tactic.
Pass off to Fernandes, then spin and go. Ronaldo will do that. Ronaldo will offer you more than that. Ronaldo offers more in his game
for that, for playing up front and doing that. We just finished mugging off Kane for that, coming deep, blah blah blah, and linking play. That's not Rashford's job. That doesn't really make sense. He's brought in 2 attacking players in what's his name.
Fernandes
and the other geezer, those 2. Mm-hmm. They're attacking players to link play. Why would you then have Rashford link play? Because those 2 guys can't.
Link plays the wrong word.
Those 2 guys can't get past him. So why would you come deep? That doesn't make sense.
Link plays the wrong play. He can't show for the ball. Martial came on. Martial showed for the ball. He played with his back to goal.
Okay.
He gave the ball back to the midfield, could spin in behind. Rashford doesn't do that.
But that wasn't the plan, though.
It's not a bad plan. Rashford doesn't do that.
Well, firstly,
so if your gaffer tells you to play on the last man, you're going to start coming deep, are you? You're not.
So I just said they're making him into a one-trick pony.
That's what they wanted from him. and then they bring on Martial to do the other thing. That's why you have a squad, isn't it?
So why are you arguing the point?
Then, if it's like that, everyone can do everything. He does that. Martial does this. You bring a big man on to do one thing. You did a different player to bring on to do something else. You're trying to say.
So Mike, when I say they're making him into a one-trick
they're not
pony,
making him. That's what he is. That's
Okay.
what he is.
With
Mr.
with
Hinder.
the game, before we
wasn't
carry
making
on
him
with what if he plays in one position or another, I think ultimately Ten Hag needs to take a massive sense of responsibility of playing Rashford up top.
He's not a striker, anyway.
in that game. Rashford's had a cracking start to the season, and I've slagged them off beforehand there, but he's had a great start to the season.
Go on, bring on the stats.
And done really. I haven't got the stats for Rashford. I'm just saying he so almost on his form he's deserved to start. However, that's where I think Ten Hag is letting himself down with going, actually, for this particular game, you shouldn't be playing because of the way that we're going to play. We're not really going to get behind City, and the way that they line up, they didn't get behind. But Rashford would have been ideal if maybe Ten Hag's game plan had come off, because usually you get behind City quite easily with a couple of balls over the top because they play so high. But Man United were so poor everywhere that they didn't get those opportunities like you would usually get against them, which was quite bad. Sancho was horrendous today as well.
Playing.
Yeah, exactly. Right, that's how bad he was. He was awful today, and I don't think he's had very many good games. So the positives for United are they need to look at a plan B for those big games, I think, rather than going, right, we're going to outplay everyone, because they're not that team anymore. Give them Haaland and they're that team without a doubt. But at the moment, they're not that team.
But they've got three options. They've got Ronaldo, Martial, and Rashford, and they all have different attributes. So it's not like they haven't got choices to.
100%, and that's what I'm saying. But what he's done is he's continued to play the same players that have won him other games, where sometimes you need a plan B. Whereas, Man City are good enough; they don't need a plan B. Spurs at the moment play with plan B, but they don't really have a plan A, because counter-attack is a plan B, right? And there was no other plan because it didn't work. And they're like, what do we do now? But you need a plan A and a plan B. And I think that's what they're lacking. This, you're so good that you don't need it. And that was what everyone moaned about. Okay, 2 seconds. What everyone moaned about with Wenger, he had no other way of playing, right? And it was just, this is it. And that only works when you're doing really, really well and have the best players. If you don't, you need another way to win the game, and that can be as boring as it takes. But if you lost that game 2-1 today, you'd have been like, that's not bad. But 6-3 with Man City pretty much going, oh, sod it, second half, you have the ball. That was it. The three flattered them.
Any loss to Man City, even as 1-0, would have been bad. Nobody in the derby, I don't think you take performance over results. Everybody wants to win. But hey, I'm the host. I don't have an opinion.
Not that one.
That wasn't me talking. Sorry, that wasn't me talking. Last thing on the Manchester game, Dunk. We've mentioned Ten Hag should have got things better tactically. We've had the Rashford argument. Mr. Hinder has mentioned, you shouldn't have pressed. With Rashford, the last question on Rashford, and one-trick pony, not one-trick pony, whatever. Playing him up top, knowing that his biggest strength is his speed, do you agree that he could be a bit more versatile in terms of back to the goal, or do a bit more show for the ball, as Steve has said? Or do you agree, as the angry one has mentioned, he's probably just on the pitch doing what he has been asked to do? And the reason I'm asking this is because how do you think this will affect his chances for England?
Yeah, if you're asking me as like an England supporter, then obviously I like him to be a bit more versatile. And so I think Steve's probably
like Kane.
Like Kane, not that versatile. There's a limit there somewhere. We can find a happy medium. So yeah, Steve's got a bit of a point. Like that's the way they're using him this season. So yeah, they kind of forced him into that role. He's not going to perform that role for England. Like he's not going to play up top because we got Kane. Kane's going to be there with two broken legs and whatever else. It's going to be Kane up top. So he's not going to perform that role. So yeah, how he's being used for Man U is a bit detrimental.
You're saying Kane plays with crutches regardless.
he would still play that. Yeah. So like how he plays for Man U is going to be detrimental to his role in England. But Southgate hasn't massively used him in his squads anyway. So there's that point as well. So just on that whole tactics thing, like the guys were saying, it was a bit naive. Probably was a bit naive, but maybe that's just Ten Hag. Like he's still trying to implement his tactics. He's only had 8 games, whatever it's been. So, like Neil said, he'll find out from that game that doesn't work against teams like Man City. So,
if he was the Watford manager, he'd have been sacked.
So he has lost 3 games. Has lost 3 games and won 4. Man United have played 7 games, but we shall see.
Man United could have gone second in the league if they'd won their 2 games in hand. That was a scary thought.
Very scary.
Then
would have been title contenders. All right.
Even if you were top, you wouldn't.
All right. Looking at Graham Potter for Chelsea, and 2 games, 1 draw, a win at Crystal Palace. Conor Gallagher scoring against his old team.
Sounds like a crap porno, by the way, JJ. 2 games, 1 draw.
A crap what?
Porno.
I don't know what you're talking about, man. Sorry. Yeah, but the angry one, do you think Chelsea is already beginning to look like they have an identity again? I know it's just 2 games and everybody should know how we love Potter and GRC, but do you think they're beginning to form a new identity, or do you think this is the beginning of good things to come?
I wouldn't say it's a new identity. I mean, they're getting the results. Like the game win against Palace, and what's his name, Gallagher comes on. That's not Potter. That's just individual talent and a cracking goal. Albeit he's put him on the pitch. So we'll just have to. It's still early to say, but I think he's finding his feet in terms of he knows what he wants now. He's a bit more aware of the players and stuff. But I wouldn't say yet that they found an identity. I can't see them playing exactly the same. Like with when he was under Brighton, you could see a style of play that's not quite yet embedded at Chelsea. I don't think. But I mean, the promising signs, they get results at least. So,
what do you think, Dunk? Do you think that he's going to shape them up to a title-winning team because of the array of talent that they have? And I mean, from the way the results have gone, it's not like Brighton is missing him too much, but he seems like he should be able to change the Chelsea style of play. What do you think?
Yeah, title-winning team? No, not this season. Absolutely not.
Not this season.
But yeah, solidify them. Give them a chance at the top 4 again this season. I think that's what they'll be looking at with Potter, that he can like solidify things, shore up, get rid of all those silly mistakes, all the stupid things that have been going on in the club, solidify the squad, solidify the whole place around him, get it unified and get them performing more consistently. Like Mike said, like on the pitch, we've got a draw and then like a last minute winner against Crystal Palace, who are down the bottom half of the table. So that there's nothing massively impressive there, but a result's a result. And he's just someone who's going to be judged like over the next 5 or 6 weeks, see what run of games they got, see how he can fare against the bigger teams. But yeah, he's only been there like, is that 2 games now? Yeah. So he's got time on his side, and as long as he doesn't take a dip, he's obviously going to get time at Chelsea. So yeah, I think like the way we're looking at the league, Man City romping it, Liverpool out of sorts, Spurs out of sorts, Arsenal doing pretty well. If he can turn it around like quite quickly and unify them at the club, like they're back in with a shout of going for that top 4 spot.
Well, we shall see how it goes. Now, the question I do want to ask though is, Conor Gallagher played really well for Crystal Palace last season. People have probably said he should be more in the Chelsea team. Big Steve, I know how you're a big fan of Loftus-Cheek. And Conor Gallagher being in the team, who would you rather play in the centre of the park?
It's actually a good question, They're slightly different players, though, to me.
Yeah, but they can offer you the same thing.
I think Gallagher's more creative.
More creative?
Yeah,
Loftus-Cheek.
Loftus-Cheek is more, he'll pick the ball up, drive with it. Conor Gallagher, I see him do linking players, passes and stuff like that, and he's all over the place.
No, energy-wise, maybe.
Yeah, energy-wise, he brings energy to the team. Whereas Loftus-Cheek is more, he comes across like he's not busting a gut, but he's got a lot of power, pace to drive, go from box to box. I'll say it, then probably go with Conor Gallagher, to be honest. Because he'll make your team play on the front foot.
And Mr. Hinder, you were one of those that called for him to start for Chelsea. Do you think Potter will give him that chance and make him probably have more influence like he did with the Crystal Palace team?
Yeah, I mean, I want to see him get more game time. Not necessarily he's going to be a starter, and I think it's the right thing to do is change that team slowly and get your tactics and ethos across rather than going in wholesale changes. Suddenly they're 6, 7 games into the season and they're trying to play something completely different. Potter's very, I think, realistic and obviously understated when he goes in. He's not changing it. He's not going to rewrite what Chelsea do overnight because that just won't work. He just needs to go in and do it slowly. They had a good win. They did it all right. I mean, like Dunk said, just about winning, but just about winning's better than losing or getting a draw. It's how that they continue to progress through everything else. He put Brozier on, which was good to see. He's getting some game time then. The boys would be happy that Oba scored. Always good news.
Did he?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, he knows he did. Yeah,
Decent finish as well. Decent finish as well.
Was a very decent finish, to be fair.
Shouldn't have happened, but decent finish.
James is playing, but interestingly enough, one thing that you didn't mention about the Chelsea game: who started in goal?
Kepa.
Oh yes, Chelsea about to win it.
He's gone with Kepa.
Of course he has.
But the thing is, though, what I found interesting. What I found interesting about that game,
Mendy wasn't injured. No,
he was on the bench.
No one's mentioning the fact that they were playing basketball as well.
Hey?
At the back. Thiago Silva.
You on about the sending off? You always have to bring the tone down, don't you? Look
I'm just talking about the facts of the game.
Facts of the game is he didn't get sent off.
I think the only way he didn't get sent off is because he had an initial touch of the ball, which was the handball, and then he did the stupid scoop. That's a total red. And I think the only way he got away with it is because he had the initial touch of the hand and then he swiped, and they probably looked at it and went,
was he the last man? Was he the last man?
Yes.
No.
He was.
So
what's
He was the last man. Chilwell weren't getting back. He was the last man.
So I think the only reason why he didn't get sent off because he thought he got fouled, right? And if he'd picked that ball up, he wouldn't have been sent off for it if he'd picked up and gone it was a foul. That's only reason. No, I don't think any player's ever gone.
So just to clarify, you're saying the reason that he wasn't sent off is because he thought he was fouled.
Yeah. And then he handled the ball, and then he punched the ball away in a rage afterwards, right?
So if I
slapped it like a really weak slap, right?
So that's like 3 offenses you have called. So and you still think he should be sent off?
That's what Simon Jordan said, isn't it? He should have been booked for 2 handballs.
Yeah, he should have been
booked twice and then sent off.
Like
to me, he was last man.
Thank you. Last man. I mean, consistency has to play here. He looked at
we are consistent. VAR crap. We can understand that, and it's consistently rubbish throughout it. I think that Chelsea got away with it. Even Potter afterwards went our way. We were lucky. He knew that it wasn't, and he should have been. He should have another day. He would have gone, but that's just it's not Chelsea's fault from that point of view. It's VAR going, and it was just stupid by a 38-year-old. He probably was struggling to get up. Don't forget, he's old. That's just not even. He was probably trying to stand back up, and his hand slipped. Come on, I wouldn't be.
I definitely hope that Mr. Hinder will never be in the VAR office because you'd be there arguing and giving excuses like, he thought it was a foul, so he tried to pick the ball up.
I can read the rules. I'd implement them as to the letter, which is the problem that we have. They don't do.
Well, I mean,
but anyway, let's get back to Kepa playing. Yeah.
No,
100% win rate with Kepa under Potter.
Implementing it to the letter, he should have been sent off. If it's the last man and you have grabbed the ball, nobody cares what
he didn't grab it.
Grab, touch,
he
push,
tried. He tried
it.
Wasn't it accidental? It took a bubble, ref. Honest. Got away with it, didn't it?
Rubbish decisions. Anyway, Dunk, I got 2 questions for you. Have they sorted out their striking issues with Aubameyang coming back, looking sharp and scoring? That's one. Number 2, with the keeper situation and Kepa coming back in. With goalkeepers, is it just a situation of during training, the manager just goes, I think this guy is better? Because unless Potter is telling us that he thinks Kepa is a better keeper than Mendy, Why do you think, or is he trying out his team to see the best, the best gel?
Yeah, when you were all talking and you asked Steve about the names that escape my head, Gallagher and Loftus-Cheek, and then we went on to Kepa and Mendy. Yeah, the point I was going to make was Potter's obviously going to assess the squad, and Neil said he's not going to like change it overnight. So he's going to be making those assessments, and he's going to be looking to who can play the best in his system. So for whatever reason, he's choosing Kepa over Mendy. Obviously, he's there in training. He's seeing how things are going down. You obviously, apart from shot stopping with keepers, you've got to look at how they perform with the ball at their feet, whether they're making errors, things like that. So yeah, that's quite a big decision that he's put Kepa in, like already in his second game in charge. But yeah, he's going to be assessing that squad, and the players all have a chance, like a clean slate, to perform however he wants to perform. He's obviously going to be running some stuff of how he likes to play in training, but not like absolutely fully implementing it into league matches at the minute. So places up for grabs with a new manager in.
So we have a question.
Goalkeepers Union. Oh, sorry, go on.
So if Mendy loses his place in the Chelsea team, is he no longer in Steve's best African team of all time then?
Kepa's not African. He's not the
Mike, you should really let it go.
Mendy.
Mike, you should really let it go. I made a choice and I made a choice, bro.
That's fine. I'm just asking you a question. If he loses his place in the Chelsea team,
stays the same.
After what? After a season and a half, would he still be in your...
That's what I said. That's what I said at the time.
Okay.
Done. Finish with it.
All right, cool.
And the other question, JJ, is about Aubameyang. Well, they've obviously got a striker that can score goals, so yeah, he got on the...
Yeah, but the reason I asked, you know what Chelsea does to strikers, though? I think Drogba is the only one that has gone past that voodoo. Everybody else starts good, and then...
New manager, Potter. We'll see how he utilises strikers, because we've been berating like the last few Chelsea managers for how they treat strikers. Now they utilise them, so maybe he's going to use him properly, and maybe at the end of the season he's going to get Lukaku back. So if he's still around, and he can actually, Potter shows that he's got tactics where he can actually utilise a striker.
Or be nice to him, right? Who gets rid of him after a week? Sorry, JJ.
No. Well, you never know. I mean, does anybody actually know how Lukaku's doing in Italy? Is he scoring?
Yeah, he's really
goals?
enjoying himself. No, he's not scoring goals, but I mean, he's enjoying himself, right? He got away from where he didn't want to be, which was, and then Oba comes because Tuchel's there, and then they get rid of Tuchel, and then Oba's like, "You left me with Potter. This is why I signed up for."
They lost to Roma the other night, 2-1. Chris Smalling getting the winner, another English player, because Southgate doesn't like overseas players.
Is that the one that Mourinho watched from the coach?
Yes.
Well, to start with, Smalling got kicked out of the English team because at the time it was Hodgson and Gary Neville, and they said he did not have the confidence to take the ball out of the 18, and which is why, who did they bring into the squad?
Maguire.
Who did have the confidence. Couldn't defend, but had the confidence to do that.
Yes, Neil?
I don't want to talk about them. I want to talk about another player, Reece James. Definitely got to be England's right back, right?
He is.
And cemented, right? For defensive, he played well.
Permission to have 1 minute, just 1 minute of
silence. I mean, it's going to be really
1 minute
weird.
silence for Harry Maguire.
One minute
or
of an
Trent
opinion.
Alexander's defendings.
just 1 minute of an opinion. Reece James, as we have said millions of times, is the best right wing back in the country. Full stop. There's no argument. So you saying Reece James, England #1 defender, it's not news. He's better than every other defender out there. Balanced, strong. You even want to play him in the middle. So when you're saying Reece James for right back for England, like it's something we didn't know. My 1 minute is over. All right, cool.
You're finished, man. We'll have to put that one on.
I'm good. Sorry. Yeah, crack on.
That's it.
Yeah, that's good.
I was just making sure we were all under 100% agreement, right? That he is England's #1, and we never need to bring it up again.
No, but
just to go back on your...
It depends on tactics, but anyway, go on.
Just to go back on your point, the fact that Potter's come in and played Kepa, I think he's making a statement that he's going to be his #1. Goalkeepers is the one position that you go with and you normally stick with it for a long while.
What is that?
Goalkeepers
So
Union.
I'll be surprised if he switches it back and goes back to Mendy.
Mr. Hinder and Big Steve, you guys are the goalkeepers, right? So this is the question I have for you. Big Steve just said he has come in, statement, goalkeeper, Kepa is my number one. In 2 games, and of course, bit training, what do you think Kepa would have done so much better than Mendy? Or did you think Potter actually came in with the mindset that this guy is going to be my number one? Neil first.
I think he's already looked at. He would have seen Chelsea footage before. I think he's already seen that Mendy has been looking a bit ropey since he came back from the Africans nation. He hadn't been the same form as he initially had found before then. And we all know that some players struggle once they come back from the international, like and just disappear off the face of the earth into a bit of Harry Maguire for one. So there's definitely an element of that. And I think it's just been boiling. Like, Kepa got stripped quite quickly for such a young goalkeeper, and not keeping with him, I think was, honestly, a bit of an insult to him. He hadn't really done.
Was he stripped quickly?
Yeah, I think so. I think
Or
that
did he make a lot of mistakes?
We're not talking of no, he's not. He's a young goalkeeper playing in the Premier League, right? They're going to make mistakes, but the only way they get better is by continuously playing and having the confidence to
Chelsea,
make mistakes, right?
If you don't perform, you get sacked. There's no time for that.
Yeah, but he's not. He's a defender, so no, I disagree. And if you're trying to install, you pay 75 million. He was the most expensive. Is the most expensive goalkeeper, right? In history,
I think it was 80 million.
You continue to play him, and you get to that goalkeeper to what he's going to be, because he's not going to be coming in as the world's best goalkeeper. There's still,
if you spend 80 million on him, though.
Because you've got to look. You've got to look at what's about and who you can get. A little bit like you could say Man City only spent 60 million on Haaland, and you know, Liverpool spent 90 million on Nunes, but that was because Haaland had a contract we could get out cheaper. Doesn't mean to say his market value is worth that. There was no way that Chelsea were going to go and buy Neuer and whoever else that they really wanted. They had to look through the list and go, right, this is the next best keeper that we can get.
Kepa's never
going to go. I mean,
Kepa's not even better than Ramsdale.
Don't even get me started on the Ramsdale argument. But Kepa needs time. Like with the hair went to United, he needs time, and he needs a manager to stick with him and say, you know what, you're my number one, and you're going to be my number one. If you make 5 errors week after week, that's a different story. But if you make 1 error, it doesn't make you a bad keeper overnight. You have to stick with him. So he comes out and goes, you know what, I can do that. Because you have to be in a situation to make an error. I don't mean passing out from a goal kick. Like, that's fucking ridiculous anyway.
What about when you, the manager, says to him, come off, I'm stopping you off, and you say, no, I'm not coming off?
I mean, that's past.
Yeah, but I 100% agree. But that wasn't dealt with in the next game. Or that was dealt with really, really poorly by the manager as well as the player. The player shouldn't have done that, and I 100% agree. He should have been reprimanded for that, and he should have come out and publicly apologised, etc., etc. But that didn't happen, and that was really poor. But that's a club issue.
The thing with Kepa, and when you mentioned that he's a young goalkeeper and he's going to make mistakes, but he's playing for a club that mistakes will cost them goals. And yes, you could argue that, oh yeah, they're good enough to go back or find themselves, or, you know, score more goals than the opposition. But at the time, Lampard actually went for Mendy. And when Mendy came into the Chelsea team, he was pretty much very solid that the last half of the season. No mistakes. Chelsea looked stable. And of course, as you said, a mistake doesn't make a keeper bad overnight. But you seem to be beating Mendy, though. But you know, saying that you and Big Steve.
No. I'm not beating Mendy. No, I've supported Mendy in the past, right? But if you look at this season, and if you're Potter coming in, Mendy has been way off, even from last season. He's been off from what his standards were set. Something's not completely right. And if you're looking to make them a better team, and you've got Kepa as an option, and Kepa seems to be saying in training, performing decent, there's no problem making the change, because you're not taking out an informed goalkeeper to replace him with someone else.
Then doesn't that defeat the logic?
Mendy's been playing poor. Say again.
Doesn't that defeat Neil's logic about just because you make a couple of mistakes, it doesn't mean that you're not a bad keeper?
Mendy's been off his standards for more than this season. It was end of last season.
Yeah, but for Potter, that doesn't count. For Potter, it only counts how he's performed for Potter, isn't it?
No, because Potter's seen how he's been playing.
But that's in the past.
Yeah. No, but Potter's seen how he's been playing. He's playing poor.
I would just say, like, that it's quite a rare situation at Chelsea. There aren't many clubs where you've got 2 keepers that are good enough to start. Normally, the structure is you've got your number one and then you've got your backup. But they had Kepa, then they obviously brought in Mendy. So I don't see a massive big deal. If like Steve said, someone goes out of form, it's not a massive big deal to bring the other one in because they've got two keepers that could be starters.
But my point is about Neil's point when he says that if Kepa makes mistakes, he should be given an opportunity to rectify them and stay in the team. I agree. You've got two world-class keepers, well, potentially world-class keepers. If one's not performing, get him out, and that goes for Kepa. And that goes for either of them. You can't say one should be given a chance, not the other.
I think the situation Potter's got, and I think Duncan's right there. They've got two good keepers now, so that they're a situation with that. But that was a situation arisen out of the fact that they had instantly they were like, I don't think Kepa's a decent keeper. I'm buying Mendy. That was what had happened. So now they've got these two goalkeepers. Kepa's now 27. For 2 years, he's pretty much been out of the team. He's barely played any games at all for them. He's like 7-4 and 1 this season. Before that, he'd had 2 seasons, 36 and 33 games in the Prem. So he was the number one guy, and suddenly he's no longer the number one guy. And fine, if you don't want him to be your number one guy and you've got it in, you do that. But I think it was too early, and they didn't let him go. So what's the point of saying no and then leaving him just to rot? He cost a bucket load of money, but that doesn't help him. It doesn't help the club either. They let Lukaku go, who they spent 92 million on. So they're obviously not out on loan for like 5p, right? So it's not like they're short of it. I'm glad that he's back in the team and hopefully going to get some game time. I think he is going to show Potter what he's capable of, and if not, Potter will make his own decision and buy. Well, he went by Raya because he made a massive error on the weekend, but that was horrendous.
Well, we shall see how Potter, progresses with the Chelsea team. We'll see who actually becomes number one. Who knows? He might give Mendy more chances, and we'll see if Aubameyang gets the golden touch back. Hopefully, I'm sure the angry one is looking forward to that. Okay, let's go into the games of the weekend. Let us go to Liverpool v Brighton. Big Steve, Liverpool coming back from 2 goals down, 3-2, and then Brighton. Brighton should have won that game with the chances that they had.
The first half, Brighton should have been out of sight. Alisson made some really good saves. Brighton missed some chances, but Liverpool just didn't get out of the blocks.
What is wrong with Van Dijk
for the first 20 months? I don't know. He doesn't seem positive in his defending. He's always, instead of going and make an impact on the ball, he takes a step backwards. That seems to be his default position now, is he runs backwards. He's not going and challenge or engage. Until it's like the last minute. So he just seems very, very, very off. And he's the leader of their defense, and you can say team. But this is not new. Liverpool's been like that for a little while, because Alisson, even at the end of last season, he was having to make a lot of saves in games, and then Liverpool will come back and then score. But they've been giving away chances for a while. So I don't know what the problem is with the defensive mix. But it's just off.
There seem to be issues all around Liverpool. So last season they were title contenders. Season before that they were off because Van Dijk was injured, and then now this season they seem quite. Salah is not really himself. Gomez making a bunch load of mistakes. Van Dijk doesn't seem himself. What is the issue? Is it
I think when you look at their side, it's only like Diaz who seems to be able to make a difference week in, week out, who's consistently playing at a high level. All the others seem to be dipping and going up and down. They're just uncharacteristic. I don't know if there's a hangover from Mane's missing, because Mane was busy around the pitch, and which is exposing other things. I think Salah needs to work backwards a bit more to help Trent, because that's now becoming it looks like that's becoming a weak point, that side. And teams are going to go for Trent.
Yeah.
And if Salah's not coming back to help him, the midfield can't get across the way they used to. Credit support. So
we need to give credit to Brighton, though. Played really well. They don't seem like they're missing Mr. Potter. They say it would have been, as you said, they should have been out of sides in the first half. But 3-3
Sanchez made a horrendous mistake as well.
Oh yeah,
catch the ball, bruv.
Catch the ball. Let's see, Kepa and Mendy will do better. Let us see. All right, Fulham v Newcastle. Mr. Hinder, we all know how you love the Geordie boys. Good win away from home. Fulham did get a red card at the start of the game. But Almiron, man, that was a world-class goal.
What a goal.
World-class goal.
I mean, who's doing this? You or me? Because that's literally the rule the rest of the game, right?
Can I
Fulham had
just
a
say
sending off
he
for
scored a
8
world-class goal because I benched him in my fantasy football team. That's the only reason he scored 2 goals.
Did you triple captain Haaland instead, though? Because that would have been amazing, right? Did you?
No, I didn't. I wish I did.
Yeah, Fulham were poor, really, really poor. I think unbelievably poor that game. The sending off was ridiculous. He didn't even argue. He knew that he never had a leg to stand on. After 8 minutes of the game, that's let his whole team down. Wilson should have scored maybe 2, 3 in that game, I think. But Fulham were poor, so it's no reflection on Newcastle needed that win because they'd been going for a bit of a barren spell of draws. Almiron's goal was quality. He was all over the pitch for that game, but it was such a dominant display by Newcastle, which really compounded by how poor Fulham really are and how much they struggled with 10 men. They needed to go and just drop deep like for the whole game. And then they pulled up a couple of good saves as well, which was nice to see. But yeah, Almiron's goal, man. When that ball dropped and he kicked it in, I'm like, wow! I didn't even know it was a goal. I was still in like shock that he'd managed to do that. He was unlucky on a couple of other chances, but yeah, it's good to see that he's finding his feet in that team as well, because he's had a lot of potential and probably not fulfilled it. And yeah, he's looking decent performance by Newcastle, but
it's the manager. Easy. Get Saka in that team. Yeah, then you'll see him. Then you'll see him go up a level. Get him under Eddie Howe.
Eddie Howe wouldn't want him. Wouldn't play. Doesn't do enough in the final third, he'd say. But yeah, that's a good team because he's got Murphy playing, who was on loan at Wednesday, I'm sure, and he wasn't great for us. A couple of seasons later, he's playing and he played well. But again, Fulham were poor. I hope the Fulham fans don't mind, but that was a shambles. That was upsetting for them.
Well, there you go. And he was worried that he wouldn't have much to say. We're going from Eddie Howe, who is, of course, Big Dog's favorite manager in the world, to his second favorite manager in the world, Super Frankie Lampard, Southampton v Everton. Everton getting 3 sweet points away from home. Big Dog, did you enjoy that for Mr. Frankie Lampard, who is still in the game? As you said, you predicted week 6, but he's still here.
Okay, I'll say 2 things. I let him off the week 6 thing. Okay, I didn't have Everton to go down. And I'm a person like everyone should be. You can change your opinions if the facts come in the face of it. So it's Frank swayed me. Hinder. He swayed me a bit this week. Frank has the performance. I'll have to say it was just Southampton, but Southampton have had some decent results this season. They've been able to turn up on occasions, but it was the way performance, and they really battled the way to get that win. And they were scrapping around all over the pitch. So that's the thing that impressed me with Everton this week. So maybe Frank's starting to have an impact. So his Frank stock in my eyes would just notch it up a couple of bits. I'm not fully behind him yet, but we'll just crank him up a little bit on the dial. Chances for both teams, there were so many chances and so many bad finishes, in and around the 6-yard box. So that, to be honest, that game could have gone either way. But Everton pulled it out.
Good saves from Pickford, though. Good saves from Pickford, though.
Yeah, some good saves, but also some bad misses. But yeah, Everton have got an away win, so that's a big result for them. So fair enough. Like I said, Frankie's gone up a little bit in my estimation. So maybe he can pull through. And if you're in a position like that, JJ, and you've got people like me saying you don't like you have to shut us up. And maybe he's going to do it.
Do you think, Dunk, that his signings have done that, and he's got players that now want to play for him, and there's a little bit of grit in there where they were literally toothless at the end of last season?
There's definitely some of that. You got is it Onana? Is that the midfielder's name? Is looking pretty.
Is he a midfielder or a striker?
Striker, I
midfielder.
Yeah, he's more of a midfielder. Yeah, he's been all over the place. Obviously, McNeil scored, and Cody's been a great signing for them. Really shored up the defence, and he popped up with a goal yesterday as well. So fair play.
It is looking good at the blue side of Liverpool. Wolves have sacked Bruno Lage. They have told him goodbye, and I don't know why. Because
he's rubbish and he spent 100 million.
Yeah, but this is the thing, though. So when clubs always say that they want to play more attacking football, attractive football, because with Nuno, they were saying, oh, the football is not as interesting, or we'll just wait for you to make a mistake. However, and now they've gotten rid of Bruno Lag. Is that just on the basis of, okay, you wanted X amount of money, we've given it to you, it's not working, so goodbye? The angry one.
Yeah, they weren't getting the results. So, but the thing is, Wolves were a team. So they were punching above their weight for a couple of seasons. Then they got a bit big-headed and started talking about style of play, when really they needed to cement themselves in the league for a few more seasons and just be there. And then you can worry about your style of play. But obviously they thought they were better than they were. They wanted to play more attacking football. They are playing more attacking football, but they're getting battered now. So then they sacked the guy that's coming to do that. That game, it was all right. To be fair, in terms of the best thing for it was for West Ham's point of view, just getting the result. That Scaramanga for Nipples guy looked pretty decent. Cracking goal. Mr.
Does
Sitter.
he actually have 3 nipples?
Well, Scaramanga does. I don't know. I don't know if he does.
No, JJ, he doesn't. It's a play it's a play on the James Bond character, JJ.
I know, I'm joking.
I haven't checked his Facebook fans only page or whatever. But yeah, it was a decent goal from him, and he looked lively. He looked lively against.
Didn't you
England
want
as
him
well.
for Arsenal at some point?
Yeah, I think it was a time when we were just linked to any striker in the world that was Italian or played in the Italian league, or just might be the next hot thing. So yeah, he was lively against England as well. So West Ham just needed the result to be fair more than anything else. Not sure why Bowen is scoring that goal and then showing everyone his name in the back of his shirt. We all know who you are, mate. So I'm not really sure what that was about. But yeah, basically they needed to win and they did. Wolves.
That's his first goal of the season, I believe. So I think he had been getting some stick saying, "Oh, he's not the player he was last season." So he was trying
getting
to
stick now because
wasn't it just so he let Southgate know who he was? Like Southgate, I'm called Bone, just in case you're trying to find anyone outside of your core 8 players.
That is better than Saka, yeah.
Yeah, Neil would probably take Bowen over Saka as well, to be honest.
Yeah. Who wouldn't?
Neil just said he's scoring. Hasn't Saka scored this season?
No, they've both got 1 each. Yeah,
but he's not scored enough.
But he's got 3 in the Europa League last season. That's it for me. That's winning.
So yeah, that was it. West Ham needed the result. They came out. Wasn't a great performance, but you just need the points.
And of course, Leeds Aston Villa. Big dunk. How can Villa not even get something from that game after Leeds' best player was sent off?
Yeah, Leeds a bit lucky today. Yeah, so the Leeds came out the blocks quite fast. We're dominating like the first 20, 25 minutes, but no end result. So as the game went on, you were getting a bit more worried that Villa were going to get back into it. So which they did in the first half. Not loads of chances in the game. And then, yeah, Sinisterra, silly boy. Like, we were talking about Thiago Silva earlier. Like, he could have, like, there's ways of doing that if you're a bit savvy, of just standing in the way, but not, he kicked his leg up. Nearly, I think he had his foot up around the head height. Like, what are you talking about, ref? So, yeah, there's ways of doing that, of, like, just casually standing in the way and blocking the free kick, but he was just, like, so blatantly obvious that he was doing it. So, yeah, he got the red, and then they were just on the attack for like the whole of the second half, had loads more chances. So they will be pretty disappointed that they didn't get a winner in that game. They came close with, was it Coutinho hit the bar, and then Watkins missed like from, within the 6-yard box, put it wide, like scuffed it out.
Like a special.
So, yeah. So Leeds got away with it. Villa just continuing a bit of poor form. Well, they had obviously the result against Man City, but again, they haven't really started this season, haven't kicked it on and got going. So again, Stevie G had my seal of approval. Here's Frankie, here's Stevie. They're getting a bit closer together now.
Okay, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Bournemouth did play Brentford, but it was a 0-0 game. Bournemouth, another big donks team. They're slowly getting back into it.
Although they haven't scored, mate, clean sheets ever since they got battered by Liverpool. Like that, no one would have called that. That's quite impressive. I'm impressed anyway.
Well, there you go. You don't have a weekend where they both won, but you have one that they didn't lose. So you're doing good. You're doing good. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, if you remember, we have a prediction league, and we believe the angry one was leading. So we're going to go back to it after a few weeks off that.
Was I? I don't even check anymore.
Yeah, you don't really check. Yeah, okay. And the games that we're picking for next weekend's Premier League games, we have. Let's see what Chelsea, Potter, and of course whoever will lead Wolves next weekend. So we have Chelsea v Wolves, Man City, Southampton, West Ham, Fulham, and of course Arsenal, Liverpool. So let's start with Man City, Southampton. Neil, prediction.
9-0. If Mina Haaland plays like he did against United against Southampton, I don't even think that's astronomical.
Yeah,
I'm going to stick
that's
to
not
9.
even that funny, is it? it's realistic.
9-0.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
Haaland 9. Put him
No.
triple captain.
Steve.
5-1
To who?
to City. I don't know.
Don.
I'll go something different. I'll go 6-0.
My God. Mike.
It'll be 3-0. Southampton won't be as open as Mignour.
And
Southampton don't have any history for getting slapped around. Do they?
and if Haaland's not playing, we'll all come back and revisit these scores maybe.
3-0. It'll be 3-0.
Oh, wait, you think he'll be on holiday or something on a break?
He might have to if it's...
They got Champions League in the weekend or something.
Yeah, they'll
Yep.
win everything. What about
Chelsea
you?
Wolves.
What about your score?
My score is not important.
We still need
What?
to know because it goes on the league. Come on.
Okay. Man City, Southampton. 6-1.
6-1. Oh,
This is where Southampton wins 1-0.
Ward Prowse.
Everybody be surprised. Chelsea Wolves. Mr. Hinder.
3-0 Chelsea.
Big Steve.
2-0.
Dunk.
3-1.
Mike.
2-0. Chelsea.
4-1.
Aubameyang hat-trick.
Oh, yes.
Chelsea can't
Derby.
score for love nor money, can
London Derby. West Ham, Fulham. I would go 3-1 to West Ham. Mike.
2-1 West Ham.
Dunk.
3-2 West Ham.
Oh, nobody's giving Fulham a winning chance. Steve.
2-1
To
West Ham.
Oh. And Mr. Hinder?
4-1 West Ham.
Wow.
Fulham are so poor.
And Bowen hat-trick, yeah?
We'll know his name.
We know his name. And of course, our last game of the prediction league is title contenders versus former title contenders, Arsenal v Liverpool. Mr. Hinder?
Is that next week? Is Arsenal at home?
Yeah, Sunday.
Sunday. That's a big Sunday, that one, isn't it? You better be holding that tight there, Steve, just in case. Liverpool are going to win that 3-2. Sorry,
Don?
Steve. You look like you're about to cry.
I'm going to give that as a 1-1 draw. I think Liverpool will play a bit better.
I go 2-0 Arsenal.
That's a jinx.
Someone doesn't like Liverpool, do they?
Steve?
2-1 Arsenal.
The angry one.
My heart says 3-2 Arsenal, but my head says 3-2 Liverpool.
So 2-2?
Big difference. No, Liverpool do a general one and beat us 3-2. Reverse jinx.
Here we go.
They'll go 2-0. They go 2-0 down Liverpool because they seem to every game at the moment.
All right, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Prediction League. You can find out on our website, grc.co.uk. And of course, you can follow us on all our socials at GRC Football TV. It's been another wonderful weekend of football, especially if you're not a Man United fan. Haaland making the league look so easy. Rashford bringing up issues between Big Steve and the angry one. Mr. Hinder not loving Saka no matter what he does. And finally, Dunk admits that Super Frankie Lampard is actually super. There you go,
What?
ladies
He's
and
putting
gentlemen.
words in my
I
mouth.
believe-
I go, geez, I said like,
He's on the
give him a
same
little
with me
bit
as
more
well.
credit. That's not calling him super. Bloody hell.
Okay,
And if
let's just say
Saka plays well, scores and assists, then fine.
let's just say you finally called him Frank. All right, ladies and gentlemen, there you go. It's goodbye from Mr. Hinder.
Take it easy.
Goodbye from Dunk.
See you later, guys.
Goodbye from the Angry One.
Ciao, people.
Goodbye from Big Steve.
See you later.
And of course, ladies and gentlemen, more thanks.